Well, today's class is going to be another interesting one. As I mentioned just before this segment, I've been trying to work on many other elements. We worked on the water meditation, and we have a tree meditation, and light, which is fire meditation. So I tried to get all of the five elements, and the only thing that was missing was air or wind. All right, and was having quite the challenge to try to get something together. And the so anyway, I'll tell you the story about that in a minute. Today's color is green, emerald green. So it is of course, the heart chakra. Anything that really means something to us, it has that wind factor. You know, when people advertise the diamonds, they say, "Give her a diamond and take her breath away." It's like breath goes along with the heart, you know, like anything with love, sort of thing. And that is so that's really what we're really doing. Is it's the element of wind. In this case, more specifically, it'll be mountain wind. The intention today, of course, is letting go of our past in a different way. Spirit is still seeing souls out there that are having a hard time letting go of the past. And we touched on this in a couple of times in past classes, but Spirit figured they're going to try this in another way. It's almost like whatever techniques they would do, they're always watching you. They're always watching to see how you're handling the past, how you're handling what some people have done to you, and how that is evolving. And they're seeing that, okay, it seems like a lot of people are still struggling with this particular issue of how do we get how do we make peace with the past and just move on? So they totally changed gears and they went to the mountain and the mountain energy, and which is wind. The wind energy is a very powerful energy in that way. A number of weeks ago, I had somebody that I was connected to, and they just came back from an excursion at Mount Everest. And when they got to base camp, which they call base camp, that's before you start climbing. At one point, she's posing in this one area, and in the background, there's these magnificent other mountains, and just the way she's looking around, she just can't believe the vastness or the space or she says, you know, Tony, it made me look small. Like I would have no problems, like compared to this vastness and these incredible peaks. Of course, in going there with all of the physical training you have to do, not only with the physical strength, but you're at 6,500 elevation in terms of feet, 6,500 feet or more, and people will start having problems breathing because the air is starting to get thinner and it's hard to breathe. So you have to train in low atmospheric conditions, and it's twice as hard because it's almost like your weight is twice as much because you're in that state where you can't breathe in, right? So in that, she kind of gave me a gift in a sense. She was describing what it's like at the base of this camp. She says it was just amazing because even to get to base camp, and that's even before you start climbing, this is just base camp. It's just the work. This is where we start. They hike up there. It takes 2 days to get to base camp. People have died just to get to base camp. Okay? It's so grueling. It's not even like a 30-degree slope or anything. It's just that you've got to get to a certain place at a certain time, and there's always that rush because as soon as the sun goes down, you can't be in the middle of nowhere. You know, they have to camp somewhere. You know, it takes 2 days. So there's a schedule. So they could, have a little bit of time, but if somebody is slow, it's just going to slow everybody down because the guide is trained that either we all go or nobody goes. So in other words, if one person is slow, he slows down the whole team. Has to. Can't leave one person in the middle of nowhere, right? So everybody has to make it. So there's that big push. So people have died just to get to base camp. And of course, further on, as you climb and everything, thousands of people have died and been airlifted back to safety, or not to safety, but to just airlifted back so their loved ones can claim their body and stuff. But it was really interesting the way she said it, is that this mountain, it's so vast and so big. It's like it has an intelligence, and she connected to this in an incredible way. And it's like it doesn't waver. The mountain doesn't care if you're male or female or what ethnic group you are or what your habits are. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. It doesn't waver. And what she meant by that was it doesn't change its energy or make it easier just because you're not as experienced as a climber. Does that make sense? The mountain is the way the mountain is for everybody, and it's safe in that way because it's fair. Everybody has to work a certain way, and there's been many women that have gone to the summit, many men have gone to the summit, and teenagers and so on. And literally tens of thousands of people have climbed Mount Everest. And at first it was the one many decades ago, but once they realize it can be done, then all of a sudden everybody wants to climb it. That it's an achievement. They figure by climbing this mountain, it'll bring something out in them. And boy, does it ever. Because once you realize that you have a mountain inside of you that you're also climbing, then the story changes quite a bit, because you get to the point where you can't go any further, but you have to. You have no choice. There are people that are grabbing you, and you say, okay, no, it's okay. I got to do this, because for them to carry you is also diminishing their strength. And everyone's getting weaker because you're not as strong. So there's a point that, okay, let me do this. I got this. And so you push on. And if you hit your limit, remember we talk about the adversity when you impose it upon yourself. That was one segment that we had a while back. And it's just this drive forward, just sheer will. You're going to move forward. There's tears coming down, and just everything that's water comes out of you, right? And it's just this incredible strength that just you get past, and all of a sudden you have this strength that you don't know where it came from. Some people call it a second wind. Some people call it just an inner strength or the adrenals. Whatever it is, it's a point that you never had to hit before. And the mountain helps you get there in this energy. So yes, you're climbing the mountain, but you're also climbing whatever's inside of you that's always been a limitation, has always been a thing that has caused you to second guess yourself or caused you to do whatever it is. But it doesn't waver. So if you are at the point that you're going to die, the mountain will let you. I know it's a kind of a crude thing to say, but in an energetic form, it is fair. And it doesn't diminish its difficulty just because you're having a hard time. Okay? And I want you to keep that in mind, because that's kind of the theme for this whole class today, is that the energy of the mountain is what it is. It doesn't change, it doesn't alter, it doesn't do anything. Whatever, even if you love it or hate it or whatever it is, it's still the mountain. And it's just leaving you to your challenges that you go through. It also doesn't keep score. It doesn't find fault in people. The mountain doesn't see fault in anybody, because people that start off and they have doubts and they finally get to base camp or even beyond, it's such a gratifying feeling just to get there. Some people will just go to Mount Everest just to walk through and get to base camp, because for whatever reason, like to get anything further than base camp, you really got to be in top physical condition. But base camp, you got to be in pretty good condition, and you're still one of the 5% in the world if you can just get to base camp, because it is still so grueling. Because not only do you have to go up, you got to come back down, right? There's that so that's another 2 days to come back down. And it's not as easy, because now you're forcing yourself, but it is coming down, but you don't also want to fall when you're on a 30-degree slope or something, so it's very deliberate sort of thing. So anyway, that's how the mountain speaks to you. It speaks to you through its own rocks. It speaks to you in the wind, the light, the silence. It doesn't say anything that you can comprehend from a cognitive sense, but it's more of a feeling. And that's what this lady tapped into. She could actually start having a conversation with the mountain. And that's where she said, this is where I had this huge revelation that I could be a little more kind to some people. I could, and it was a number of things that she had this revelation for. And it's just came out in the communication between her and the mountain. So we're going to talk about that. First thing is, what would happen if all humans on this earth had this mountain inside of them and they would be just like a mountain? What would be the result? Well, Spirit is saying, first of all, we would grow naturally, regardless what others would think or gossip about. How many times have you had a plan or wanting to do something and they said, oh no, that's a crazy idea. Why on earth would you go to Europe? Why on earth would you take engineering? Or whatever your plan would be? In other words, they would have judgment on you based on the fact that they wouldn't do it because that's way too big for them. So they impose their limitations on you. But we wouldn't be doing that. That wouldn't affect you if you had this mountain energy. Okay, follow me? So it is taking the mountain inside of you and starting to bring it up because we all have it. Spirit says every one of us has this mountain energy. And it's always stern and it's always reliable and it's rock solid, no pun intended. Another thing that would happen is we would also advance our careers. In other words, make more money, have more responsibility, and challenge us, whether it be artistically or managerially, it would challenge us and push us to the point where we've never been before and just have this, that we're going to be great at whatever we do. If you have a career like that, then you would love doing that. You would love it. But so many will look at it, oh, that's too hard. Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. But when you love what you do, and then you go home and you love the people in your family and you love your friends, you're in a constant state of joy. Rather than can't wait to get out of work just to go home, and then there's more things to battle in many cases. People, that's how they describe it, battle the family, battle all of the intricacies of life and so on. And it's all sort of chores. It's all chore oriented. And we go through many decades of this. So when you love what you do, then that spills into other things because you won't settle. We also would not work so hard for others so that they would be proud of us. This is a big one. I hear this many times. I hear this from the early 20s demographics because they just finished high school, then they just finished university or college or whatever, and now they're ready to go on their own. But what they did in the courses that they took was because dad or mom was happy that you took those courses. But you really didn't, like shop, or you didn't like something, but you would have liked to go somewhere else. But you're trying to make them happy and trying to get their approval, prove their worthiness. And then somewhere in there, you're going to realize that, oh, this is not something I like. And then there's also that I'm not enough. I just don't have enough of something. And some people will actually go back to university and take the course that they would have taken. Some people are smart and they go through 1 year. No, I can't do this. I'm not doing this. I'm sorry, Dad. Sorry, Mom, but this is not for me. I mean, this might have been the course that you took when you started out, and that's great. Love you for it because you were able to, raise all of our 3 or 4 kids and my brothers and sisters. You did a great job, but this is not my path. I'm not going to be a rubber stamp because something that worked for you. Because that was 30 years ago or whatever when you did the training. I have my own, and then you do your own thing. We would also allow more good things to happen to us and would not question whether or not we deserve it. How many times have this happened where we are working for something, making sure that other people are giving us what we want, but then when we finally get it, well, do I deserve this? I told you this one story about this farmer that I knew, and he was so good at being able to work out and knew the lottery numbers. He would actually know the lottery numbers before they came up. And I said, "Well, man, this is great. Then whatever you want, you could just pick the numbers, and you'd be able to open up that health center or make your farm bigger or whatever." He says, "Yeah, but I was taught to work a long day, and after a long day, then I feel that I deserved it. I don't feel I deserve it." So you could only tell by some people would say, "I would so do that," but other people not so much. The people that have the talent, they're not using it because of this deserving energy. Okay? So if you're a mountain, you wouldn't have that. You would just go ahead and do it. We would also be more free to tell someone that we love them without the fear of rejection. And we hear this a lot. I heard this recently from Keanu Reeves. Thank you. And he had this crush on Sandra Bullock when they did Speed. You remember that movie when we were on the bus? He had a crush on her, and he just wanted to ask her out, and he just felt that, I don't know, I don't. What if she says no, or whatever the case was? Anyway, he never asked her, and it was years later in an interview that he said it in front of her to the interviewer, and then she turns over and she says, "Well, I kind of had a crush on you, but I didn't think you liked me because you never asked me out." And it's like right away you saw like 20 years of misunderstanding hit in a second. They both liked each other, but neither one wanted to say that, I kind of like you, really? I like you too. And then maybe it would, but neither one said anything for the fear that, what if they say no? And it's pretty embarrassing. If we are like the mountain, that would not come up. We would not really care what other people would think. We would just do it. Another value that we would have if we were a mountain is that we would follow our true passions more without thinking of choosing another profession or adopting something else, again, that would make other people happy and proud of us. We would use our past to create beautiful landscapes in ourselves and continue loving ourselves. Now, just look at some of the mountains that are in our existence. There's a few mountains that are perfectly round. There's a volcano in it and stuff, and like in Hawaii, there's several like that. It's a perfect circle. And other mountains have this incredible thing, but half of it's gone. I guess millions of years ago, there might have been a volcano or an explosion, and that part of the mountain just was gone. It just exploded. But over time, it's beautiful. So in other words, you using your past, your scars, to look at me. I'm unique. I'm not round. Kind of thing. And it's unique. It's beautiful. But in human terms, we think there's something wrong with us. But if you bring in this mountainous energy, you won't feel like that. Everything is an evolution. If you look at Mount St. Helens, practically the entire mountain disappeared over just a few minutes. It just exploded. So when you are looking at the past, humans look at it as, this has scarred me, and now you've totally changed your identity. But it shouldn't, but it does. It shouldn't, but it did. But the mountain doesn't care. It does. It just keeps going. It just keeps going, one after the other. We would also let others, as another attribute, we'd also let others do what they want to do without wanting to change them. How many times have we met somebody who said, "Oh, he's a really, really nice person. If they only did this, this, and this, they'd be awesome." Because in the end, if we just leave people to their resolve and everything else, they'll do their own self-reflection, and they'll feel that, you know what, I need to make a change, and I need to change this, this, and this, because they will do it on their own in time. They don't need your help in the meantime, wanting you to change, because they might not be ready for that change, because they're still in this whatever turning energy that is keeping them where they are. And so they just need to be there. I've heard Spirit say on many occasions that this particular person, yeah, because they don't believe in themselves and they don't believe in their own love and the love of others, or people want to help, and they're always thinking there's an ulterior motive, and people that are like that, Spirit says, and we could see them just going face first into a wall, an energetic wall, like this is not going to work. They're going to find one day that they're just going to be flat on their back, and we need to prevent that. And so many times in the past, Spirit says, no, you're not. We need to let them hit the wall. In other words, we need to be the mountain. The mountain will let you hit the wall, because that will put some sense in you. I mean, even not even as crude as the Isaac Newton story, where an apple falls on a person's head. Okay, it brought out various things out of Isaac Newton, thinking, boy, that was really hurting. And then he's thinking gravity, and he worked out formulas and so on. But what they didn't tell you is a few weeks before that, it was an acorn. And then a few weeks before, after that, or, in that time period, it might have been something larger, and then eventually it worked into be an apple. They just didn't know whether they should drop a tree on him, because he had all the capabilities to turn the facts, because they know what this person could do, but he just never went there. So they kept dropping things. This was the third one. The apple was number 3. So you could only imagine what the other 2 were, and they were probably very minor, right? But this third one was the apple. So I can almost shudder to think if the apple didn't work, what would be next? Because it gets bigger, right? They want him to realize that gravity's a thing. The other attribute that we would have would be we would not second guess ourselves. This is a big one. Second guessing ourselves. In other words, no matter how much research you would do in something, buying a car, buying a house, buying, like a boat or a motorcycle, or just getting something, just getting anything, you're going to do whatever research you're going to do and whatever feels right. And the culmination of all of that searching, you'll come up with a solution, or I am going to be doing this. Now, and then there's a way that you would second guess yourself. Am I making the right choice? Because you're afraid to make a mistake. Now, I want you all to realize that there is a manipulation tactic that can be used to give any person a doubt. Any doubt. In other words, if you use these 5 words in a question, it would bring a person to a point where it would stop them and then wonder, am I even able to buy a house, or should I even try to get a car, or whatever it is that they've decided they wanted? If you ask this question, it'll just stop them in their tracks. They won't know what to do. It's only the strong, the people that have encompassed this mountain energy, and when the question is asked, the answer will always be the same. In other words, they won't waver. One example is, let's say, a person might say, well, after high school, I plan to go into engineering, or I plan to start a family. I really want to get the family going, and maybe I'll work on the career after. Or I want to tour Europe. Okay? It doesn't matter what you decide. So here's the 5 words, just so you're aware of it, of what this would do to you, so that you're aware of it, that it is a manipulation tactic. The question will be, are you sure about that? So, I'm planning on going to Europe for the summer. Wouldn't that be great? Are you sure about that? Right away, there's a hesitation. Am I doing the right thing, right? So it'll take the strongest one of us that, again, has this mountain energy and won't care what anybody says. They says, yep, I'm still doing it. Are you sure? Absolutely. But that's a very small amount of the population. Most people are so unsure of themselves that they want other people to tell them what to do. It does get that bad with some people. And it's not so it's that bad. I'm not trying to judge it that way. It's just that their self concern or their self insight is so weak, and there's nothing to draw from because they have low energy. They are doing things in low energy. They don't ground, and they don't do a lot of energetic things. So there's nothing to draw from. Their negativity is rather high. Then if any kind of doubt is in there, they'll stop. They just won't know what to do. And then they're totally confused. They won't even backtrack and figure, is this a good idea? I'm just going to make it. No, they won't even go that far. They'll just drop everything. Now I won't do anything. All right. So that is one tactic that I wanted you to hear, because when a friend or a coach or a teacher or somebody that says that to you after you've just told them what you want to do, just realize that at that point, you should be pretty sure that you're going to do this no matter what. All right. If we were mountains, you would not also climb a mountain or do other achievements so others can see you, but rather you want to climb and do those things so your perception of the world is better. It's not about being the center of attention. It's not about you being at a height where other people can see you. Well, I'm now a CEO of a company, or I'm now a millionaire, or I'm now the height of my success, or I can only go as far as a PhD in this particular profession. It's about, now that you're there, what are you seeing? With all this knowledge, with all of this experience, what are you seeing? But so many people are so happy when they put those letters beside their name, and they've earned it, and they should, but they rely on it so much that they think that their education and how far they've gone, other people should compliment them. That is not something that Spirit is kind of with, because now you're using other people's acceptance of you as whether or not you're going to move forward. Okay. Okay, so another one will be, if we were the mountain and had that mountain energy present, we would accept our limitations and then choose to go beyond them. So how many times have people said that, when somebody says it, now we see this and hear this a lot when people are in hospital, they wake up, there's been an accident, and let's say they can't move their legs, or whatever is said, whatever diagnosis it is initially, and they realize that they may not be able to walk for a while. In other words, they're using their limits as a crippling thing that now they can't do a lot of other things, rather than using the experience and you're just going to keep moving. All this is a detour. This might have slowed me down, but it's not going to stop me. I told the story one time of a motorcycle person that I was at the same time filling up gas in a gas station, and he gets off his bike and he was sort of limping to get to the pump, and then all of that, and we struck up a conversation. And in doing that, I didn't mention anything about his difficulty in walking or anything. It's just, hey, it was a beautiful day for a ride. And he says, yeah, it was great. And then he was the one that brought up, yeah, I just got out of the hospital a month ago. I was in there for 2 years or something like that, but about 2 years, because I had a massive accident. I have pins in my legs and just to keep all the bones, everything together. And they said I'd never walk again. And I says, wow, dude, this is pretty good. You're not only walking, but you're on a bike, and you got to be capable to be on a motorcycle, with all those things in your legs. He says, oh yeah, it hurts, but I love what I do. And that wasn't going to stop me from getting on the bike. So he was using the motorcycle in this case, but something that he loved doing. And it could have been anything. It could have been boating or anything, but he chose this particular piece to use that as a catalyst for walking again. And when we look at it that way, that is the essence of what the mountain does. Okay. When we, another one would be that we're not going to settle for something just because it's easy at the cost of our dreams. Many people do this, is that they'll look at at a dream, it would be so nice if let's say I was able to buy a house or able to buy a car or able to get this incredible job or to be able to travel the world or whatever the aspiration or the dream is. It doesn't matter what it is, whatever the dream is. And a person is looking at it and realizing, you know what, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought. So instead of holding on to the dream, they lower their expectation of whatever they think they can now do. And that's where they sit. And spirit is always, looking at that as why that is happening, is that, they really want to be successful in their life and they've tried everything and it just doesn't seem to work. So the only real solution here is I just got to expect less. The mountain would never do that. The mountain would always say, this is what I want, and this is it, no matter what. However long I have to wait, it will be worth the wait. I will not settle. Number of years ago, I had a client where they married strictly because the person that they were going out with, they were nice, but not really to the point where they would want to marry. Not there's anything wrong with them. It's just that the chemistry wasn't quite there. But they liked their company. And so he just figured, you know what, I'm not going to do any better than this. So he asked her to marry him, and she said yes. Okay, so they both had that lukewarm sort of a relationship. Only within 2 years, he finally meets this other person in a party, and their chemistry was amazing. And he says, I let go of the dream because I've also been raised that, once you make a decision on marriage, that's it. So I'm in this. And okay, I appreciate that, the commitment that way. But what he saw was he just didn't have the patience to wait 2 more years for this amazing person and ended up being with this other person for 35 years. Okay, so all to say that, is it worth it to wait another little bit of time, whatever that is, to get exactly what you want? And the mountain would always choose that. They would never choose because it's something easy or readily available or something that it has to settle for. It doesn't settle, ever. It never settles. It's rock solid. It also, and there are some, and this is something that Spirit had mentioned, that there are some people that when they go to these mountain excursions, the mountain hears people say all kinds of things in the evening, Thank you very much for this experience. I love coming out, and I'm so glad that I did this. To the point where I hate you. You put me through all this misery and all of this, and they get all kinds of people yelling at the mountain for it. The mountain doesn't care. In other words, it doesn't change its energy. It doesn't change anything because it's not using your approval for anything. This is just within you. And wouldn't that be nice if that was within us as people? With all of the things, if somebody says that I really like you, does that make such a huge difference that it would change your entire existence? Because if that's the case, then that would mean if someone says I hate you, that would devastate you. Why on earth would you hate me? I'm a good person. Again, trying to justify your existence, right? And then it's just a loop of all kinds of other very negative things that'll come out of that. Or whether I disapprove of your actions, or I want you to be something else, or all of that. If you start listening to that, you're going to lose your identity. You're just going to lose so many things. There's going to be so many things that's not going to come right for you. So what the mountain does is it doesn't need other people's acceptance of its existence. It just is what it is, right? We would also not feel abandoned if someone decides to leave us. Like, how many times have you had neighbors where, let's say every Friday night, they come over and they play cards for a couple of hours, have drinks, and it's almost a ritual. Every Friday night, this happens. Until one night, something happens where, we gotta go to a wedding the next day, so we can't come tonight. And then something happens, and the next thing you know, that ritual is gone. And I've seen rituals like that going for 3, 5, 10 years, and all of a sudden fizz away. And people feel abandoned. They really do. They feel that, what did we do? What did we say? Like, I don't understand. Don't they like us anymore? It's sort of idea. And they don't, and what the mountain doesn't do is it doesn't create assumptions or what is this Jones thinking? Wonder what are they thinking about me? It doesn't do that. It just realizes it was an era of fun that happened, and all of a sudden they went somewhere else. So there's no abandonment energy. They don't feel abandoned. When somebody goes to the mountain, whether it's your first time or whether it's your 200th time, the mountain welcomes you with open arms. It's always there. And if you leave, it's okay. If you come back, it's okay. All right. Everything is like that. And they're not trying to guess what you're thinking. And humans do this all the time. All the time. I wonder why. What are they thinking? And then sometimes they'll even ask me, Tony, I have this neighbor, and they tell me the story, and they say, what are they thinking? I says, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I am a great medium. I'm a lousy mind reader. Ask my wife. Ask my wife. I have no clue what they're thinking because I'm not there. Because a thinking is something that goes on in your mind, and it's all assumptions. It's all things that they make up, things that they're worried about, things that they're whatever. And if you get stuck in there, people that can read minds, well, I've met people that can read minds, and they that is another story in itself, because there's such confusion in there. And I'm not going to do that, even if I could, and I have no aspirations to read minds, absolutely none, because that's not where the healing is anyway. The healing is what comes after. What do you do after? That's where I am, and that's where spirit can help. Is after all of this, where are you? What are you thinking? What are you doing? What do you want to do? Do you want peace? Because we can help with that. And it's usually stop thinking. It's going to be one of the readings. Another one here is, we're going to do this real quick. Another one is, we would love without condition, and we would not be agreeable with control. Here's the thing. If you are an incredibly kind, loving, angelic type person, you are going to attract some of the best people around you, but you'll also attract some of the worst, because now they think, oh, there's somebody that I can manipulate. There's someone I can control. And if I can control an angel, boy, wouldn't that be great? But here's the thing. You can't. If you have that ability where you are that nice, but you are fed that whatever someone else says is your feeding, then you're just asking for trouble. But if you are in your own space and somebody says, I love you, well, thank you. I love you too. I hate you. Well, okay, that is your choice. You have that. So in other words, you're not really devastated either way. And spirit doesn't want you to be, because no matter whether someone loves you, hates you, they don't really care for you, they think what you're doing is stupid, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Because everyone is doing what they are called to do and what spirit wants them to do. And that is what they are basing everything on. And when you are called to do those things, no matter what anybody says, like even the profession that I'm in, being a medium, is largely female. I was in a class of 27 women, and I was the only guy when I started. And I really thought I was, I'm in the wrong class. I'm in the wrong profession, because it was my first class being, in this spiritual journey. And I really thought I made a mistake. And I was going to leave. It was a 5-day or a 6-day workshop, and I had to go to New York to do it. And as soon as I got there, I went there the night before, went down into the conference room, and I was the first one in, and they said, hi, Tony. I said, oh, how do you know my name? Because you're the only guy. Oh, great. And after one, we didn't even take the whole day. After half of the day, I says, I think I might be leaving, as this is not looking for me. I mean, like there were some incredible women there, like in terms of they're so spiritual and they knew so much more than I did. I said, oh, I can't compete with this. At that point, I thought it was a competition. It isn't, of course, but I just thought there's no way that I could be compared with any of these women. And when we were doing what we call sharing, one woman after the next in some way were being abused, were being controlled by their partner, or beaten by their father, grandfather, whatever. By the time it got to me, I was almost uh, I was almost insulted being a man. You know, in other words, because I said all these people that were going through hurt came from a man, and I'm sitting there, and it says, and then of course, cocky me, I said I had a great life. My parents danced around me, and they did. I wanted. I if I wanted to play hockey, they bought me. Like I got everything I wanted. I didn't have any siblings until I was 10. So I was pretty much all of the family pictures. Guess what? It's me. And it's me either somersaulting when the movie camera industry came in to Super 8, and the people that know the Kodak moment. I know Carl probably remembers this era. It's me jumping and dancing, and like I was a happy kid. Like I had no issues. I anything I wanted, I got. So and and so it was terrible. Like the fact that everybody took like 5-10 minutes to talk about their trauma, and I say everything is fine for me. Boy, I thought I am going to be ousted here for sure. No one's going to talk to me because oh, if you're so great, I says, well, no, it's just that I didn't realize that there was this much trauma in the world, and up until then, I did not. I had no idea women were going through that stuff. Like the way I was raised, if I didn't open a door for a woman, like even when I was 11 or 12, my dad would say, "Don't you ever you respect women?" And like I was told that from an early age, get the chair so they could sit down. All the old chivalry stuff. That's how I was raised. To respect women. And I thought all men had that training. Well, evidently not. In fact, it was the exact opposite. They used women for their own pleasure. They used, like, it was just horrific. At the end of the day, I says, I don't know if I could do this. And then she, of course, was also a medium, and she says, well, there's a reason you need to be here. And I said, I don't know what it is, because I don't know if I can do anything that these women can do. They're amazing. I mean, I'm talking to them in break, and all the experiences they've had and how they're changed their life and everything. I don't have any of those experiences. So what would I be able to offer a woman? And she says, that's the point. No man would go to a woman who's going through deep stuff. Maybe you're here because you are a man. And so I would start there, is use the fact that you came in as a man as an advantage. And it took me a lot of years to really see that. And now I have about 40% of my clientele are men that are going through stuff. Like even this weekend, I've got 2 men coming in because they're going through stuff and other people can't figure it out. But I know right away, I can relate, not from a human perspective, which is also good, but I tap right into it. I'm just no problem. And so there's a reason why I had to be here. Okay, so real quick here, I want to give you a list of 10 ways to love that a mountain would do, the mountain energy. And if you want to write some of this down, you can. Okay, there's 10 ways to love. First way is listen without interrupting. Okay, someone's talking, just listen and don't interrupt. Just let them speak and listen to what they're saying. Number 2, speak without accusing. Answer their question or speak without having any accusing factor. Number 3, give without sparing anything. So in other words, you're not hoarding stuff for you. Whatever you can do, if you want to share, you want to give what you can. Okay? Pray without frustration. Is this hitting when people sometimes pray or they want something? They said, "Oh, what's taking so long? Just come and give me this thing." You know? They're frustrated because whatever they want, they're still waiting for it to come in. And it's interesting to see when people are praying and they're also in a point that they're wanting something and there's that frustration. So try and pray without frustration. Number 5 is answer without arguing. When you're responding and you're answering, and the other person's in an argumentative, how do you answer it without being argumentative? Share without pretending. Oh, I'm just sharing just because I want to give. But you say, I don't want to give. I'm just doing this because it's going to promote my company or whatever it is that you want to share something with. Share because you want to. Number 7, enjoy without complaining. Enjoy without complaining. How many times have you finally got out to a spa or gone out to a lake or a cabin or you're somewhere and you're in this beautiful setting and you say, why don't I do this more often? So it's almost like a complaint, right? Okay, and that's what Spirit is sort of hitting on. Try and just enjoy. Just say, I'm here. Thank you. That's it. But people go further by saying, oh, I got to do this more often. I got to make time. And it's almost like a whining. Yeah, stop doing that. Because the energy that got you there is looking for enjoyment. They're not looking for more issues that's coming up. They understand you've been frustrated, but don't bring the frustration to the lake. Leave it at home. Okay, that's why you go to the lake, because you get away. Okay. Number 8, trust without wavering. That's a big one. You trust. And trust is something that we talked about this last week when we talked about looking up, and that is unwavering trust and faith. Is if you finally made a decision that, okay, I'm going to do something, I'm going to trust Spirit. I'm going to trust this person. I'm going to trust not always a person, but you're going to trust that it will happen. And it has to be undying. And that's the work. They're saying, how can I trust more? Wait longer. Okay. So it's just like that. So trust without wavering. Number 9, forgive without punishment. Forgive without punishment. Yes, I'll forgive you, but first of all, you don't have supper tonight. No, I'm going to forgive you. And do you want dessert? Yeah. Okay, that's what real forgiveness is. You don't have to pay for forgiveness. Number 10, promise without forgetting. I promise that I will do this, this, and this, but I won't forget. And if it takes longer, not that I forgot, it's just that whatever on my side hasn't happened yet, hasn't happened. As soon as it does, I will promise to come through. And here is, I want to touch on this real quick, is that with some people that are very much a mountain, their word is as strong as a signature. If I promise something to anyone here, hell or high water, doesn't matter what happens, even if I don't legally have to do it now, for whatever reason, I will still come through. I don't care because it was my promise. I promised you. But I also have to realize that if somebody dupes me and makes me say that I promised to do this and they don't promise something on their end, then they can't come back and say, well, you did promise, Tony. That's right, I did. But you also promised. And based on your promise, I promised. So since you reneged on yours, that releases me from mine. Okay. So in other words, people can take advantage if you are so sort of upstanding and all they have to do is have you say the words, I promise, or I will, or whatever. Okay. Okay. In this meditation, it's a mountain meditation. It's a great creation. And I used the sounds of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony. I'm not sure if you realize, you could Google this after, and it's all over. I just found this out a couple of days ago, that Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, Movement 2, is the perfect chord and the way everything is designed so that you would be in a space to let something go of your past. Imagine that. No work. Okay, no work. Seriously, all you have to do is listen to this, and we're going to play a video, so this way you could see mountains. You'll hear the air. So if you have any earphones, any headbuds, I would ask you to put those on if you like. Okay, you can. Just that the audio experience will be greater. On top of the Beethoven's work, I've put in about 9 or 10 layers of tuning forks and the sound of the wind in there, just to really culminate what it's like to be in front of a mountain. The way I want you to do this real quick is that I want you to see yourself on the ledge looking in front of a mountain. You could bring in the Matterhorn, Mount Everest, whatever that you vibrate to, okay? And at one point, I want you to see yourself as being transparent. So some people will see like chicken wire, like you could see right through it, sort of thing. Or they'll see screen, or you could just be sort of the skin will disappear and everything is sort of open. So you're transparent, in other words, you can see right through it. And then with the sound of the wind that you're going to hear, I want you to just let that wind wash through your whole system and cleanse all of your past that has been heavy for you. The traumas, the all of the deceit, all of the pain that you went through that you're holding on to, perhaps even still. If you've already done all of that work, do it anyway, because you might know somebody that could use this, that you could pass this on to them, and then they could start healing. All right? And then so just listen to the music and the wind and make yourself transparent, and then let's see what comes up about the past, and have it where you have no regret. You can forgive yourself. The love is still there, and you're like a mountain, unwavered. Okay? Take a deep breath of the color green, this emerald green. Take a deep breath there. If you're wearing headphones, that's great. If you're watching this, that's great. We'll see you in about 13 minutes. The snow glows white on the mountainside, not a footprint to be seen. A place of isolation, and no one here is mean. The wind is howling like my childhood storm inside. Couldn't keep it in. Heaven knows I've tried. Didn't let them in. Didn't let them see. Be the good child you always had to be. Conceal it. Don't feel it. Don't say a word. Stay in a corner so you are not heard. Don't let them know who you are, as your real identity hides too far. The mountain says, let it go, let it grow. Can't hold it back anymore. Let go of the fight. Let go of the angry stack. Turn away and then don't look back. I don't care what they're going to say. The mountain inside of me is going to stay. Let the outside storm rage on. The mountain's wind protects me till dawn. It's funny how the mountains make everything seem so small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do, to test the limits and break through. It's time to let the mountain out inside of me. It's time for me to just be. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I am finally free. Let it go. Let me grow. I'm peaceful as the mountain snow. I am one with the wind and sky. You'll never hear me cry. Here I stand, and here I stay. Let the storm rage on for another day. My power of the wind is blowing to the peaks. My soul is spiraling, creating cloudy streaks. And some had thought that I was weak and always last. I'm never going back. The past is in the past. Let me grow. Please let me grow. Just stand back and watch me glow. And I will rise like the dawn. That perceived perfect child is long gone. Here I stand in the light of day, with nothing to prove and no one to pay. For the mountain I climb is not for others to look up at me. It's the inner mountain I climb. That's my identity. No more pretending and no more shame. The size of the mountain and I are the same. Okay, take your time. Take a deep breath. Just breathe in that mountain air. Try and remember what you felt, what you saw, what you sensed. Did anything change? Any shivers down your back? Any realizations? Anything that you didn't know before? Okay, slowly come back into the room. Okay, I wanted to mention something for everyone. If you feel that you need to build this mountain, but just for everyone, if you feel that this mountain is not that big, all right, if that came up, it's just that the connection to your mountain is further away. In other words, if I'm 25 miles or 100 miles away from a mountain, okay, it doesn't look that big and it will seem smaller. It's something I have to build. But when your connection gets better, you're closer and closer and closer to it, it starts to get bigger. It doesn't actually get bigger. Actually, there's no size because you're born with it in full, because mountains don't grow. It's the same size sort of thing, unless millions of years. That's different. But the mountain itself, it doesn't grow. But your connection to it will seem like it's either large or small. Like when I put myself at base camp with this person that was there, I put my energy inside of hers. This mountain was huge. This is wow. I had to look up this massive, massive rock formation, you know. But if you're not very connected to this very sturdy energy, it will seem like it's smaller. That's just the best description I can give. So it's just that you're going to need to get closer to it. So as you get closer and as your connection gets better, and when you call on the mountain energy, you're calling on this particular heart chakra, rock solid thing that comes in, and it's always the same light, always the same strength, always the same. It's just that our filters make it so that it doesn't seem like it is. And as you start peeling away some of the letting go stuff, whatever you want to let go of the past, as that starts, then it starts getting brighter and bigger and better. You just say you're getting closer. So it's not actually getting larger, just so that we sort of define that, okay? So it's the same size, just that we need to get a little closer to it. You also want to ask different questions as to what the mountain is telling you, because the mountain realizes that your energy and its energy is the same size. What Spirit is saying is that if you can listen to that 7 times over the next while, so I mean, you can do it every day if you want, but if you want to spread it out into, let's say, 2 weeks, and listen to it every couple of days or whatever, either one. If you can visualize the mountains in your head, the audio is very good, so that you can close your eyes and just see the mountains or see your mountain. Okay, that's good. But some people have a hard time with visuals. That's why I like to do the video as well, so your eyes are open. And that's okay. You're still meditating. It's just a different way. Okay, so it's all good. And then you're seeing the mountains. You're seeing this vastness and everything. But it's the tuning forks and the music itself that's much more powerful. And it's the sound that we want you to keep listening to over and over and over again. And it's like a washing machine. The more you listen to it, I've listened to it already. I listened to it quite a few times, of course, when I'm creating it, because I'm constantly editing it and so on. But when I listen to it, I always listen to it about 2 or 3 times before I post it, just to make sure that everything is just the way that Spirit wants it. And then I do a final readings. How's this? They say, they might give a thumbs up or whatever, and they say, perfect, okay. But when I started this, it's like it did not look like what you heard today. It's like they were suggesting, yeah, well, play the symphony, play, and then all these other tuning forks. And it says, no, well, if you play the Jupiter along with the 639 frequency, they're gonna like reverberate and it's gonna sound off. Like, and they said that's okay, just put it in. And so I did, and when it was all done, it was like, holy gee, did that ever sound good? So it's great when you can just sort of let go totally and let Spirit create it. And all I'm doing is the human buttons, and then how it hears. I could play with the volume, but I can't play with the frequency. The frequency is always like rock solid. You can't change that. But I can move the volume up and down. The frequency is the same. and just so that it's auditorily aesthetic, so that it's still something that, okay, yeah, this is good. I could do this. I hope this was of value to you guys. And listen, I've given you the link. It's going to be on the site later today. I'll post the meditation as well on the Facebook site. Try and listen to it at least 7 times. 7 means divine connection in terms of the number. So somewhere in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 7 times, and you don't have to do anything. This is the thing, because if it's a video, because the sound and the frequencies do about 95% of the work. All you may need to do is to say, what is it that I need to know? What is it that I need to let go today? What is it and that's it. And then it comes to you, and it says, yeah, that's what I want to let go. Boom, it's gone. And just let the music wash it away, like it's a washing machine. Like tide just came in and washed everything away, Yeah, it's I've only listened to it about 3 times now in full after the editing, and each time I break into a huge sweat, even though I'm downstairs here and it's 60 degrees. It's cold down here, and I'm sweating when I listen to that. So I know something's happening, something's burning off, and so it's very encouraging. That's 3 times already, and I consider myself pretty clear, but there's obviously more stuff to do, right? So it just goes to show that the work is never done. The work is constantly moving forward, always to the next level and everything else. Okay. Have yourself a great weekend. Love you all, and we'll see you next week. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.